All right, Class A, you need your past participles used as adjectives notes, which, by the way, you may already have most of from when we previously had them. Let's check our topics notes. You had your past participles uses adjectives notes back in Spanish 2B Unit 5A. So if you think you already have them, locate them and just follow along and add in the additional information. So here we go. Past participles used as adjectives are used to say things like open or opened, closed, painted, roasted, etc. And a past participle is a way to turn a verb into an adjective. It's real easy. You just take off the AR and add ado, and take off the ER or IR and add ito. You may remember present participles are a part of the way to say what someone is doing right now, and you take off the AR and add ando and the ER, IR and add endo. Well, it's real similar, but these are past participles and it's just ado or ito. Since sometimes we're using them like adjectives, we need to remember that they usually come after the noun. Black cat is usually cat black in Spanish, and they have to agree in number and gender. Last year, a popular phrase in the class was boiled cat. So boiled cat would actually be cat boiled, which if you remember any of your food vocab from Spanish 2, cocer and hervir both mean to boil, so cocido or hervido. If I'm going too quickly, press pause so you can write it down. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep going. We had some vocab words from Spanish 2 Unit 4B that were past participles being used as adjectives because the topic was food, and there's a lot of vocab pertaining to food that are past participles being used as adjectives, like roasted, boiled, breaded, fried, and boiled again, and salty, because they end in ado or ito, or there's an exception, one of the irregulars. So just some words that you already know that are already past participles. Past participles of verbs like lay air. Usually, if a verb ends in AR, you take it off and add ado. If it ends in ER or IR, you just add ito. But verbs like lay air, and what I mean by that is an ER or IR verb with a vowel directly before the infinitive. So these are the same types of verbs that change I to I in the slipper of the preterite for the most part. It's an ER or IR verb, has a vowel right there. You don't have to draw that ugly illustration. You need an accent on the I in ito. So here are all the verbs that we have for examples. They're not the only verbs that are affected this way, but here are the verb infinitives. Here are their past participles with the accent on the I. Of course, yours will be a little bit louder and prouder. And if you know your definitions, which you should, because they're either yellow sheet verbs or vocab, you should be able to come up with a translation of their past participle that could be used as an adjective. So don't forget, verbs like layer take an accent on the I in ito. All right, as you may remember or notice from your vocab note cards, we have a list of verbs that have irregular past participles that you should know. They're the ones that you can't just take off the AR and add ado, and you can't just take off the ER or IR and add ito. Here's the list. You should already know their definitions. Wait, I gotta go a little bit further. There we go. You should already know their definitions, but in case you don't, here they are. You should already know their past participles because they are review and they are vocab, but if you don't, here they are. And you should understand what their past participle would mean if you were going to use one of these verbs and turn it into an adjective. Here is what the past participles would mean. And down here we have cubrir, which is to cover, but we also have descubrir, which is to discover, which brings us to one of my next points. But before I get to that, I've got one more we need to add to our list. You may have noticed from our vocab we're missing one. You do not have to rewrite this. I have it in gray. But we've got this one. This one is a new one this year. And if you've been studying your vocab, you know that it means to solve or resolve. Its past participle, can you tell me what it is? If you said resuelto, you are correct, and its translation would be solved or resolved. And what I was just talking about with cubrir and descubrir is that any compound of these verbs will also have irregular past participles. That's misspelled. Let's change it. Participles. For example, proponer, componer, describir, refreir. Since poner's past participle is puesto, the irregular past participle of proponer would be propuesto. This would be compuesto. This would be descrito. This would be refrito. If you did not skip enough lines last year when you took these notes originally, you can add this information via Post-it or however you see fit. But this is additional new information that needs to be added to your previously taken notes if you were lucky enough to still be in possession of them. What else do we need to know about these, or should we already know about them? We should know that some of these have irregular translations if they're being used as adjectives. For example, these here might be a little different than what you would think. If their definitions are these, and their past participles are these, what would they be? Well, you would think that sleep would mean slept, and this would be seated, and this would be dead or died and things like that. But if you're using them as adjectives, they might not mean what you think they would. It can mean slept, but as an adjective it means asleep. It does mean seated, but as an adjective it can mean sitting. Macchiato can mean made up, as in wearing makeup. As the past participle, muerto should mean died, and in certain phrases it does, but if it's being used as an adjective it means dead, and so on and so forth. So you can see those here. These are not a main focus of this unit. 3A, however, it is something that my Spanish 2 students know, so I would hope that my Spanish 3 students know it. So of course we have it written down in our notes. Thank you for taking your or reviewing your past participles used as adjectives notes. We will be discussing them, and I will be answering any questions you may have in class.